of this online series, Spectrum of Conservation. And as you know, we are actually having this conducting this online session series to impart the conservation, what all conservations are going on throughout India, and majorly from the government section. So today we have with us Dr. Ravi Kiran Kuloli, and presently he is working as a research associate in Arid Forest Research Institute, Jodhpur, which is a deserted area. Everyone must be aware of it. Uh, in his brief introduction, I can say he is right now the research associate working as a research associate, and uh, currently he is working on forest genetic resources of Rajasthan and Gujarat states. He has presented almost 30 plus research paper on in national and international journals, and almost 10 plus years of experience in the field of conservation, in the field of mapping of threatened species of the Indian desert. Anyway, the desert flora or fauna, it is very less known to the public, and in that also he is working on the mapping of the threatened species. So he has a very hands-on the species recovery program, and his assessment for the IUCN Red List also. So with all these great achievements, I welcome Mr. Ravi Kiran, and everyone please cooperate the session by keeping their video on off mode and microphone on mute mode. So over to you, Mr. Ravi Kiran.
Thank you so much, Gauri and Shreya, and your questions providing me platform to present this my work. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I think I will hope that everybody is doing well during this corona outbreak. And thank you once again for your questions. Now let us start with our story. Today I am going to present the success story of Sirupuja bulbosa in Indian desert for its ex situ and in situ conservation. This work we have performed when I we were at the Central Arizona Research Institute and worked in a team members. Dr. Suresh Kumar, he was our principal investigator, and Dr. Chandan Singh Purohit, he was my colleague, and he was also part of that project. So this entire work we have performed in team. Now let us start the in situ and ex situ conservation success story of Sirupuja bulbosa in Indian desert. Now, what about the Indian desert? First of all, we should uh, understand what is the desert. When we consider talk about the desert, everybody's mind comes is that desert is a barren area. There is scarcity of water. There is fast vegetation. That is true. Actual definition is that landscape or region which receives the extremely low amount of the rainfall, and the living conditions in that kind of area are very adverse for the lives. That is the desert. Now come to the what about our Indian desert? The Indian desert is spread over the 2 lakh square kilometers, and it is one of the largest desert in the world and stands on the ninth rank. And there are different states which is covering under this desert condition. First, Rajasthan; second, Gujarat; third, Punjab; and fourth, Haryana. This is the brief introduction of the desert. Now, what are the different challenges in the desert, Indian desert? Let us discuss. First of all, when we consider the desert, there is very scanty of the rainfall. Now, what is the rainfall in this desert area? The average annual rainfall is 200 or below 200 mm in Jaisalmer. It goes little bit increasing up to 55 mm in the Sirui. Again, this rainfall is not uniform. It is erratic, uneven, and variable. And second, extremes of the temperature. In summer seasons, it goes up to more than 50 degree Celsius, and during the winter season, it goes below 2 or 3 degree temperature. That means it is a large variation and fluctuations in the temperature. That in summer season, you will be found that hot winds that known as that Andhri in the desertic conditions, and during summer winter season, it causes the frosts, due to which which are very adverse condition for the life sustainment. Third is the high wind velocity. And during this high wind velocity and winds during the hot summer seasons, it carries lot of sand and dust along with it, causing the andis. And along with this, due to, and again one more thing important I would like to share with you. In desertic conditions, there is very sparse vegetation cover. When this high speed wind is blowing along with its, and it carries a lot of sand particles, and thus it causes a large amount of the water evaporation rates. This water evaporation transpiration is 1500 to 2000 millimeter per year. And now, what is the our rainfall? It is 200 mm, and the what evaporative transpiration rate is 1500 to 2000 mm. That means about 10 times more per year. And next, it is soil of this Indian desert are very less in fertility, low in water retention capacity, and having the negligible organic matter. The last is a scanty vegetation, and this even that vegetation is very scanty, but there is a lot of amount of the grazing pressure is there, which is facing in Indian desert. Now this is the map where actual Indian desert is spread over. This is the Gujarat, then Rajasthan, some part of Haryana, some part of Punjab. These four states are covering under the Thar desert, and it is known also Indian desert. Now let us start our species. Now Ceropegia, we have given some efforts on the conservation of Ceropegia bulbosa in the Indian desert. Now what about the Ceropegia? Let us start the background. Ceropegia, there are about 244 taxa are spread over the world. And of them 244, 53 species, 2 subspecies, and 6 varieties are found in the India. And among these 53, 33 are endemic to this our country, India. So it is first our need that we should conserve this our valuable genetic resources, whatever we have. Once we have lost this, they will never come back again on this planet. So we should make the efforts to conserve such kind of the precious species. Now, why the Ceropegia is has to be conserved now? Because it is very highly economic and botanical curious. Everybody might, I don't know how many people of you have seen these Ceropegia plants. They are different species, but in Rajasthan we will find only I think four species. There are Ceropegia odorata, Ceropegia bulbosa, the Ceropegia hirsuta, and this one Ceropegia principalia. Of them, we selected the Ceropegia bulbosa. And let us come. There are two varieties of this Ceropegia bulbosa. Ceropegia bulbosa variety bulbosa and Ceropegia bulbosa variety lucea. Okay. Now, what is the difference between this Ceropegia bulbosa and lucea? Let us discuss. The morphology of this Ceropegia bulbosa, it is a perennial tuberous climber. Tubers are the rounded and depressed. Again, leaves are little thick, fleshy, elliptic, oblong, ovate, and glabrous. And flowers are very small. They are greenish in lateral sides, calyx, then corolla purplish within the, and it is hairy within corolla tube. And follicles are cylindrical, glabrous, tapering towards the apex. And it is the most important character of the family Asclepidaceae. And seeds are the brownish with white silky comb for its seed dispersal mechanism. Now, what is the difference? I will show you in the photograph. This is the Ceropegia bulbosa variety bulbosa, and this is Ceropegia bulbosa variety lucea. The major difference between these two species is the leaf thickness. Otherwise, there is no more difference between these two species. The bulbosa have rounded, oval-shaped leaves and having the broad. But in lucea, you will find elongated and elliptical leaves. These both are fleshy and glabrous leaves. Now, this is the plate showing the different aspects of the Ceropegia. This is the habitat where you will find in Ceropegia bulbosa. It is found in the bushes of the Cordycepolia, Tinax, Acacia senegal, sometimes in Lantana camera, and Juliflora. It needs support to climb and climb for its lifestyle. So this you can see here is a small Ceropegia plant which is growing on the Prosopis juliflora. These are the birds closer to the flower. This is the ruptured follicle, and these are the natural regeneration growing in natural conditions. Seedlings which are emerging just after the first rainfall. And these are the tubers. You can easily see that these are fibrous roots. These are the flat and rounded on both surfaces. Let us see. This is the caterpillar, which is voracious feeder and found only members of the Asclepidaceae, host specific, and this belongs to the butterfly, plain tiger butterfly. This is caterpillar, plain butterfly. Once you will get this caterpillar on that plant, you will not able to see on next day. You will lose birds and flowers and follicles. It is very voracious predator. This is major threat to this species. Now, what we have been did for conservation of the species? First, we have been completed the species distribution modeling, then status, and then mapping. For the species distribution modeling, we used the different published flora herbarium records from visiting the different herbariums like Kolkata, then BSI, HDS, Jodhpur, and other published data. We gathered the previously reported locations. Then we used these GPS locations or approach location as an input for the species distribution modeling, which is known as ecological niche modeling also. And what does it do? That species distribution modeling after performing this processing, what you will get the result? It predict the area, probable area of the occurrence of this species, so that we can reduce our efforts. If we want to see this particular species in entire region, it is very big state of this country. It is not possible and visit a very short time. So we can perform this specific model, then get some probable area of occurrence. Then we should go there, visit, and confirm your species either it is present or not. Then we identified its causes of decline. If possible, we confirm it by performing some experiments in our botanic garden. Then use this all occurrence data for preparation of this distribution map. And finally, entire data we gathered and utilized to get its IUCN rate listing criteria. Now, what efforts we made for its regeneration in ex-situ as well as in-situ conservation and reintroduction in native habitats? First, we developed a different regeneration protocols, tried various ways of regeneration to optimize its growth and germination rate and successful germination rate for nursery as well as in field conditions. Then reintroduction was made in the areas predicted by the ecological niche model of species distribution model. During suitable means that after rainfall, first rain, we transplanted these all hardened saplings at the selected sites. Then these reintroduced plants, we have monitored for its survival, growth, phenology for a certain period. Then we given the results, how much percentage of the survival is there, what are different threats, either it is declining or remaining stable, or it is growing well or not, or if it's growing, either it is flowering or not. All those characteristics we have been measured. Let us discuss it further. And this is the area from where we collected the mother plants. That is a 4 to 5 tubers we have collected from the Sundamata hills. It is located in the Jalore. This is the plant growing on in support of the Euphorbia parisifolia. This is the natural regeneration. These are again tubers which have been collected from the natural conditions. These are the flows of the flower. Now these are the our botanical garden we have planted, and these are the close-up of the Ceropegia bulbosa variety lucite. This is the flower, and this is again uh, native habitat. Now this is the map we have been prepared. And again, one more thing that I forgot to tell you, that the local name of this plant is Hedulo. In this area, Rajasthan, they are called as Hedulo or either Hedulo. In different region, there are different local names. So we are only considering with the Rajasthan plants. These are the yellow colored marks which have been reported earlier, which have been published in earlier data, like in herbarium sheet, research papers, and flora. Then these black dots, you will be get this current distribution of the Ceropegia bulbosa. So this is again this is total life cycle or flow chart how we can perform this regeneration in our botanic garden. We collected these saplings or tubers from the nature. One can directly go is pot in the pots. Then you get the seedlings. Then after completion of this life cycle, you get the follicles. After that, you will get the seeds. Then we can easily germinate in polythene bags and different kind of this sowing media. Now, this kind of the structure will be made for what purpose? Let us discuss. Because sometimes in desert, large amount of the rainfall within one day you can observe. Desertic plants are very susceptible or sensitive for the high rainfall. Once we have lost about 150, more than 150 plants due to waterlogging condition. To come over this depth of the plants, we prepare such kind of structures. This is a ring, and at middle of this, that we kept in one small heap of that soil, and in that we planted some plants. So that whatever the water is coming, it can be get percolated surrounding this ring, and our plant will be get survived easily. Now these are the variation in tuber shapes grown under different conditions. These first two tubers which are collected from natural conditions. These again three tubers which are being planted from nursery condition and grown in the sandy soil only. Last these tubers are plants grown in the gravelly soils where we will get different shapes. In sandy soil, that tubers will be get elongated much as compared to other things. These are the saplings uprooted from the sandy areas. Now, this is the follicle which is ruptured after maturity, and these are the seeds with the white silky comas. And this is again that caterpillar of oriental plain tiger butterfly eating birds of this Ceropegia bulbos in nature. Now, ecological niche modeling, species distribution. For this purpose, we selected this species, and before that, we prepared a digital elevation model of this entire hilly regions of this Rajasthan. And this is clipped with the different areas of this Rajasthan, so we can predict or we get the idea about the area where the hilly areas occur in the Rajasthan. So entire Rajasthan, there is no need to go much more area without getting any these plants. Then the GIS layers of area of occurrence of Ceropegia plant and elevation model was created. This map along with topographic sheet were used for field surveys. And then field survey will taken the GPS locations where the species are occurring, and at each site of the occurrence of the location, we laid some 5 to 10 quadrants of the 10 by 10 meters to assess its population status. So we can calculate there either it is how many plants are occurring, what are its close associates, either it is flowering, fruiting, how many plants are regenerating. All those data has been reported in the passport data. Yes. Okay. Then this is the flow chart how the GIS mapping is done. One can easily yes. Astral Global Digital Elevation Model first, then it is clipped with the district boundaries, side by side multispectral data, Landsat data, which is freely available online. You can download and mark the area of probable occurrence of the Ceropegia. For this, you can use that species distribution model. From that, you will get the probable area of the occurrence. That time, you can mark the probable area of occurrence of Ceropegia, and all these layers are being superstacked with the state boundaries, district boundaries, and roots of the Ceropegia are collection used easily. Then add density of this particular Ceropegia where you will occur the Ceropegia plants in the nature, and then you using these occurrence locations and GPS points, you can prepare its density maps also. Now, for what are the different things were needed for the Maxwell model? For this species distribution model, we used the different bioclimatic variables which are freely available on the World Bioclim website. These are the 19 bioclim variables which are utilized throughout the world, and it estimates the species distribution by presence data only. So it is very easy technique to handle particular distribution of the particular species. And again, one more thing, it is a freely available software. So anybody can go on this website, get downloaded, and one can study this distribution of the particular species, especially for the threatened taxa. Now, what are the environmental? These are the bioclimatic variables plus one elevation model we have utilized. There are 19 bioclimatic variables, and having the 1 kilometer resolution, we have downloaded from this WorldClim website. And these bioclimatic variables derived from the monthly temperature and rainfall recorded overall the world. They have been performed. They produce that. What do you say? One more terminology, interpolation. By interpolation method, they can prepare all over the data for the entire world. Then but when you download, we have to cut that data for that your particular study area. Either you are interested in doing the study for Maharashtra, or Karnataka, or some particular state, so you should cut that clip with this data along with your particular study area, and then you can easily perform your study purpose. Again, we perform the multicollinearity test. That is the which are the these are biclimatic variables which are highly correlated to each other. So the biclimatic variables which are very highly correlated, we remove from that model. Then digital elevation model, it is worldwide. Uh, World climb data we can, it is also downloaded. Now this is the list of that 19 bioclimatic variables. There are mostly temperature and rainfall. It is the most things which they have been considered for the distribution of particular plant species. Now this is the multicollinearity test used. Then this is the green colored highlighted bioclimatic variable we omitted from our modeling test. And these are the jackknife test which having showing that which bioclimatic factor is highly correlated or which is responsible for the distribution of particular species. They are giving their gain. Then area, now the model which shows that area under curve. The area under, there are different criteria area under curve. If your model predicting and showing that area under curve is more above the 0.9, then your model is perfectly showing that your distribution of your target species and it will be showing highly accurately. Now this is how result will be shown. See, this is the entire desert, but we could not able to count. This is total. This is a sandy area. Here is the Aravalli range, which is passing through this Rajasthan state, and here is hilly. So it is predicted mostly this Chittorgarh, Bundi, Kota, Bara, and Jhalawar, and some part of the Sirai. Sirai here is the mountain. And again, Jalor where it is Sundamata hill, from where we collected some mother plant of the Siripija. Then after getting this prediction, then we went to the field for the doing the. Now we get once we get this idea about this. Yes, this species is only distributed in this part of this state. So why we should we go entire this? So our efforts will be get reduced, and all economically will be easy to go there. And these are the major bioclimatic variables which are responsible for the distribution of this species. Syruphiza bulbosa. The bioclimatic 15, it is a major important variable which is causing the which is the responsible for its distribution. Now this is the these are the variables and these are the percent contribution. The bioclimatic 15 is the precipitation seasonality, that is coefficient of variation. Then bioclimatic fifth, it is the maximum temperature of the warmest month. These are the most important bioclimatic controlling the distribution of this Syruphiza species. Now, after going there, we collected the ground data of that Syruphiza bulbosa. We located the Bara, Jhalawar, and Chittorgarh. Means 4 districts we collected at 8 points, and there we collected its density per 10th hectare by laying that 10 by 10 quadrants 5 to 10 and calculated the relative importance value of that species. And these are these black dots you can easily see. Here we got this species, and that means that model is predicting perfectly that we are getting this species in that predicted area. And again, yes, if you don't have the species in this region, but when it is predicted, these areas will be more suitable if you are going to performing the species reintroduction program. After you can easily, that means if somebody is going to conserve some species or multiplication and then reintroduce into nature, then where first question comes in our mind, that where we should be reintroduce this species in native habitats. That time this species distribution model is very important. It plays very important role. Then once we get the idea where are the suitable habitats, then we should go there, visit, collect this species and then quantify what is their population there. If species is not there, then you can introduce their species which have been prepared in our nursery and monitor for their regeneration in the native habitat. Now, what are the results of this species distribution? This species distribution model has successfully predicted its occurrence. Then precipitation of wettest quarter emerged as a major factor that determines the distribution of this potential habitat of the Syruphiza bulbosa in entire Rajasthan state. Then potential habitats are predicted in the district of Bara, Jhalawar, Kota, Chittorgarh, Ajmer, Tounk, Siroi, and partially in Jodhpur, Jalore, Siroi, Nagaur, and Karoli districts also. As I shown in your this previous map, these are the predicted districts. Then Cerepigia bulbosa, but this is the entire area which is predicted. But where we found this Cerepigia in this area, we found only Jalore, Bara, Jhalawat, and Chittorgarh and Jodhpur only. And it out. Then what during model purpose we used that altitude data also. Uh, that time this is a and for which purpose, because it occurs in hilly region, or so there are certain species which get affected due to altitude also. So this species also has a range of the altitude of 846 feet to 1849 meters. That means it prefers hilly area for its survival. And what are the most common species found in this region which are associated with the Cerepigia population distribution? This is first Capparis decidia, Prosopis juliflora, Butea monosperma, Anogenesis pendula, then Grivatinax, Zizicus nubellaria, Acacia senegal, Capparis septiria, then Maintenance emarginata. Because we should maintain this data, which plants are closely associated with our targeted species. Because when we introduce in the nature, we should be introduce these species with the such kind of these associated species so that they can be survive easily. Now these are the how we perform in our nursery condition. These are the large scale plants which we produced. These are 4,500 saplings were ready for the transplantation before rainy seasons. Now these are also another photographs. These are, after rainy season they are very less green, and then we shifted them to EEs. Then another experiment we did. What are the different factors which are making its rarity or threatened? Either they are endogenous or exogenous. For that we perform different experiments. That means it is not performing that with failure of the flower. Why? Why that failure of the flower is occurring? Either it is light due to affected to highly sunlight or rainfall or temperature, all those things. Then there is very poor fruit set. If fruit is setting, but seeds are not produced in the available in that follicle. Why this? Either it is controlled due to the pollinators, then poor seed outputs, flower drop. Sometimes what happens that flower is open, but before fertilization, that flower gets dropped. Then we checked it. Either it is why this is happening. Either it is a soil nutrient or some other factors. Then fails for germination. If it is not germinating, then what is its viability, dormancy? All these things have been checked. Then grazing removal of the young saplings, seeds. Then in nature, what happens was there are very scanty of the vegetation in the nature. These saplings are very delicate. When they emerge just after first rainfall, their young shoots are very delicious. So what happens? There is nothing to eat to birds, sparrows. They can destroy or eat. Now just a few days before there is a locust attack was there in Rajasthan. Such kind of some different insects also affecting. And another thing that caterpillar I have already shown in previously slide. These are the varieties the feeding on these. And once they destroy such kind of egg saplings, it is very difficult to produce a mature plant, and after that it is not able to get seed set and saplings growth in the nature. So we after planting in the net condition, we recorded the data on different aspects like the phenology, then what about its growth and what is the vigor. After plantation, first bird was initiated after the 12th week of the plantation, and flowering started after 13th week, and after 16th week the follicles have been started. In 19 to 12, 19 to 22nd weeks are the peak period where you will get the maximum number of the birds and flowers in desertic condition here in Jodhpur conditions. And after 33 weeks, maximum number of the follicles we have been recorded. Then why the failure of the flower and fruit set occurs? Only 25% of flowers become produced the fruits during that season. Then we did that experiment and observed the different observations. That one replicate we have been one treatment the greenhouse which is closed, another net house covered with the shed net, and another one replicate trial that was the net house is just plant were placed allowed to grow on the margin of that net. So how many plants? There were 10 plants, 88 plants, and 104 plants. But the plants which are being closed, means which were grown in the greenhouse, they were not produced at follicles at all, because they flowered, but they were not able to produce the follicles because there was lack of the pollinator. That insect was not able to go inside and get pollinated. Then net house, which is covered with the net, there is same condition, but flowers were produced in very less number, but only 5 follicles we get. And net house, which is the totally open to sky, and just some small net, that iron net, it mesh that was covered, that from through which that insect was able to go inside and pollinate. There we get the good number of the flowers, and finally we get the 18 follicles of that open net house. Thus, the pollinator entry to area is important for this pollination, and producing the follicles is most important thing for this Sulfija pollination. And these are some photographs. This is the net we removed, and on margin we planted, and here we can encircled things are there. We can easily observe these follicles on open net. Then we tried what is the viability. Then once we collected these seeds, either they are viable for long-term storage or not. In nature, there are sometimes rains will be, they will rain, or otherwise the seeds will remain as it in the nature. Either they lose their viability or what. For that we tested the TTC test also. For that we prepared 3 replicates of 20 seeds in each replicate. For this, prepared 1% KTC solution, and seeds were soaked overnight in normal water, and they were decoated and treated with the TTC solution. Then these TTC solution seeds were kept in Petri plate with the wrapping overnight. And next morning we observed the observations, what type of the coloring fertilizers are taking place or not, or what is the pattern and how much seeds are viable, all those things. From this experiment, we got the 86.66 viability of these seeds. There is no account of the poor viability. That means these seeds are totally viable. Because these are some photographs. These are the seeds we have been soaked, water soaked. Then these are the decoated. These are treated, and these are the how their different patterns we observed their staining patterns. Now another experiment, we tested this. Either soil texture is affecting on its growth, survival, or is it threat causing factor for its rarity. For this, we tried 2 treatments. One is sandy soil plus FIM, and other is gravelly soil and FIM. For this sandy soil, we kept the 3 part of the sandy soil and 1 part the FIM, and same for gravelly soil. Let's say the number of seeds in each treatment we showed 100 seeds, and seeds were sown in the first week of the October 2014. Then what were different observations we recorded? So we recorded for the seed germination for 30 days. We have recorded on daily basis, and phenological observations also recorded. For this, how many seeds are germinating daily? How many leaves are producing? What is its growth, height? All those things we have been calculated. The result, germination started on the 4th day. These seeds are very soft. They can easily, if you were to put in the soil in just 1 centimeter below soil and water, 3 to 4 days within, you will get germination of these seeds. Same condition we found that for both soil types, we get germination started after 4 to 5 days. And maximum seed germination was found in gravelly soil on 23rd day. It was 85%, and in sandy soil on 23rd day. And though the seed germination was more in gravelly soil, but growth performance was poor as compared to that of in sandy soil. The average height of the seedling grown in sandy soil was maximum. It was 3.76 centimeter, and while average height of the seedling grown in sandy soil was maximum, and pair of leaves were also maximum as compared to gravelly soil, because sandy soil is that roots and that can be easily penetrate. Once that root are going in deeper layer, that means so plant will grow healthily as compared to gravel, because in gravel particle there it has some obstacles for growing its roots. Thus, we conclude that sandy soil is a very best sowing medium for its multiplication and vigorous growth of the seedlings. Yes, there is no account of poor germination and growth and effect of this seedling growth also by the sandy soil also. Because in desert most of the area we found that sandy soil only. Then we come to the other plant that particular plant can be this effect of particular plant can be for growth of this Ceropegia, because in nature there are so many associates we have recorded under which the Ceropegia plant grows. For this we have been selected different plant species which are naturally occurring. There is in one Cassia auriculata, Metinus imaginata, Euphorbia caudicifolia, and Grevatinex. These and there are 4 treatments we have been prepared. First is pre-soaking of the seeds versus direct seeds, means there is no pre-soaking. And another seed, treatment is seed kept on soil surface and buried in soil surface under the soil. Because in nature there after shattering of the follicle, seeds are blowing because we don't know what happening about that seeds. These seeds are going somewhere, it gets some crevices, it will get buried and get germinated. If seed will fall on the open surface, we don't know either it is germinating or some animals or some birds or some insects they are going to eat these seeds. So for that we perform this. These are different sticks. We have been performed the experiment in the botanical garden, and these different colors are for the different treatments of this particular seeds of this Ceropegia bulbosa. Then we sow these soil seeds under the canopy of the different plants. The first we sow these seeds under the canopy of the Cassia auriculata. For this we prepared 2 treatments, soaked seeds and unsoaked. These soaked seeds again buried and kept on soil surface. And similar condition was for unsoaked also. For which we performed soaked seeds which are buried under soil give the best seed germination, that is 70%, and survival also 75%. But here you can see that 60% only they have been germinated, but survival was 100%. But their growth and final survival was very less. Similar about the Metinus imaginata, where we get the buried soil 70%, and then here for seeds which are kept on the soil surface you get 70% only, and unsoaked seeds buried in the soil 80%, and kept on soil surface they have germinated 100%. But see again, you final survival is more for which type of seeds? For soaked seeds which are buried under the soil surface, they have 100% survival and having the average height 2.71 centimeter and number of pair of leaves are 1.4. For that Metinus imaginata. The same Euphorbia caudicifolia, we get 60% germination for soaked seeds, while for unsoaked it was 80%. Because in Euphorbia caudicifolia there is it is a thorny bush-like structure, because no other threads are not able to get that seeds and eat or harm to that seeds. It is not easy to get inside that bush of the Euphorbia caudicifolia. So all entire performance within that growth of the Ceropegia bulbosa within that Euphorbia caudicifolia is best. Then Grevatinex. Here also same condition, because Grevatinex is multi-stemmed plant and it has large area which is covering, and it is not easily approachable up to base of that particular stem. So here soaked seeds we get about 90% seed germination, so 77% survival, and average height it was 3.5 centimeter, and number of leaves 2.14 pair of the leaves. So again, we carried out this same experiment in botanic garden on open surface, where we get the very less amount of the results, because only soaked seeds we buried in open surface. It was germinated for 30% and on soil surface 10%. Some of the other seeds they might have been eaten or somewhere blown away, and unsoaked seeds they have 60% germinated, but they have very less amount of the survival rate. Only for that which seeds which have been soaked and buried in the soil, you get 67%. That means it is easily germinating after soaking, and it is a result for the another site where you will get very poor results for on the open surface. So again we this all the story about this treatment was performed with the seeds only. Now we planted the saplings of the Ceropegia bulbosa under the canopy of all these plants. Now, where we get the survival, different survival rates, their average height and number of pair of leaves under the canopy of the different plants. The highest survival rate we found below the canopy of the Grevetinis, where we get the 100% saplings survival. Again, cassia we get 90%, then Euphorbia caudicifolia 80%, and open site it was 50% only. And height, we talk about the height, the Grevetinis, it was canopy of the Grevetinis will get the 54 centimeter height, and in under maintenance it was 55, and Euphorbia caudicifolia again it was 63 centimeter. And germination was survival was highest in under the canopy Grevetinis, but phenological growth purpose was the highest under the canopy of the Euphorbia caudicifolia, which is the number of pair of leaves, it was 9.3 and 63 centimeter average height. Thus, in the same situation, we get the this hypothesis was tested from nature also. When you go to nature and check this growth performance, this Ceropegia, you will find this Ceropegia growing under the Acacia senegal, then Euphorbia caudicifolia, the third one is Green Actinids. Then we introduce the these all about we have been done in ex situ conditions. Now we perform this same kind of experiment under the native habitats, that is the in situ conditions also. This area will be selected based on the prediction of our species distribution model. The Machia Biological Park, which is located at Jodhpur, it is near to the Kailana. Again, it is a hilly and having rocky area, having a lot of vegetation with the scrublands like Euphorbia caudicifolia, Grevetinis, Acacia senegal. So we selected this area as per predicted by the species distribution model. So where we transplanted these are 550 about 550 plants and introduced in this area different canopies of the different plant species. And where will average survival will found about 70%. There now they performed so many life cycles after reintroduction. Now they are flowering, fruiting, and this species is now stable in that native habitat now. Now these are the different introduction activities carried out during rainy seasons. These are we are introducing under the canopy of the Euphorbia caudicifolia. Now these are the small pits we have been digged and how we have been transplanted these species under the Euphorbia caudicifolia. You can see these species. Now this is another in rocky crevices below the canopy of the Grevia tenax. See, this is the well-grown plant in the nursery condition transplanted in field. Now these are another small. This is the combination of different plant species here. So we introduced and get survival rate also here. This is Formica variety. There is a Grevetinis, Citral latifolia, and this is the Euphorbia caudicifolia. That means you can observe here that Euphorbia caudicifolia is the most important plant of the desertic lithophytic vegetation because it acts as a umbrella species. Means it is giving the protection to so many other species. So many species which are growing under this canopy of the Euphorbia caudicifolia get protected from the other things like that animals and some birds and all those things. It is not easily approachable to the base of the Euphorbia caudicifolia. Now these are the different parameters we have been documented after reintroduction into the native habitat below the canopy of the different plant species. First Euphorbia caudicifolia, then Acacia senegal, Grevetinis, Scuringenia, then Zizicus numida, and open site. Then recorded the different parameters like average height, vegetative, either it is vegetative, then it is budding, flowering, and hibernating. Because all plants do not flower or fruits after the reintroduction same time. Because some plants their tubers will get hibernated, they may be flower or fruit in next 1 or 2 seasons. After 1 or 2 seasons, they will be start flowering or fruiting. So all data we have been recorded, or all data I am presenting here. The average height was the 44.55 centimeter in below the canopy of the Euphorbia caudicifolia, which is the highest. It is in native condition again. And the most of the whatever plant we have been introduced, among them 81% they will remain only for the vegetative condition. And of them 4.1% they have been started budding, and flower 2.7, and hibernating 19% growth. This is after 45 days of the reintroduction. That means it is a first season only. And then Acacia senegal similar, but we get the vegetative which is 77, but no found the budding, only flowering will get 1.4% and hibernating 23%. Same Riviera tenax also and other species. Only the flowering and budding we offered in first season will be Acacia senegal and Euphorbia formicifolia. Then all this conclusion we will conclude in after doing these experiments. We concluded this include this species as an endangered category under the IUCN red listing category as endangered based on the area of occupancy and population reduction, because we have data previously published data from which we get, and again we visited those locations and calculated the population status, and appraisal is then published with the as a IUCN red listing under the endangered category. Thank you. Now I will show you small documentary. Are you visible? Is it visible?
Can you please get it? Yes, it's playing now. It's playing now.
No, voice?
Yes.
His voice is good.
Voice is also there.
Okay, then I will play now. Okay.
Still loading actually.
Now audible?
Yes. Audible.
लुप्त प्रायः सिरोपीजिया का संरक्षण एवं संवर्धन। मनुष्य द्वारा विकास के नाम पर प्रकृति को नुकसान पहुंचाना जारी है। इस कारण पशु पक्षियों की नस्लें ही नहीं अपितु कुछ पादप प्रजातियां भी ऐसी है जो या तो विलुप्त हो गई या फिर विलुप्त होने की कगार पर पहुंच चुकी है। एक ऐसी ही पादप प्रजाति है सिरोपीजिया। अगर समय रहते इस प्रजाति का संरक्षण और संवर्धन न किया गया तो इसे भी विलुप्त होने से कोई नहीं रोक सकता।
हेडुलो या सिरोपीजिया बल्बोसा की बेल अक्सर झाड़ियों के ऊपर चढ़ती हुई पहाड़ी जंगलों में पाई जाती है। इसके कंद स्वादिष्ट, पौष्टिक और कई औषधीय गुणों वाले होते हैं। इसीलिए अक्सर लोग इसके कंदों को निकालकर खा जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से इसकी संख्या में लगातार कमी होती चली जा रही है और अब ये लगभग लुप्त होने की कगार पर आ गया है।
अगर इस प्रजाति की उपयोगिता की बात की जाए तो इसकी पत्तियों व बल्ब में भरपूर मात्रा में स्टार्च, शर्करा, गोंद, वसा, रेशा व अन्य पदार्थ के कारण इसे खाद्य पदार्थ के तौर पर अपनाया जाता है। इसके अलावा इसके बीजों का पाउडर कान की बीमारी में भी उपयोग किया जाता है। यह एस्क्लेपिएडेसी कुल का पादप है व इसका वानस्पतिक नाम सिरोपीजिया बल्बोसा है। विश्व में इसकी तकरीबन 200 प्रजातियां पाई जाती हैं। इनमें से 2 राजस्थान राज्य में पाई जाती है। यहाँ पर सिरोपीजिया बल्बोसा के दोनों प्रभेद लुप्त प्राय हैं, जो कि पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों में कहीं कहीं पर ही दिखलाई देते हैं। यह पौधा 1137 से 1849 फीट की ऊंचाई पर ही पाया जाता है और 1 हेक्टेयर क्षेत्र में तकरीबन 40 से 120 तक ही इसकी संख्या सीमित है।
इस लुप्त प्राय होते जा रहे पौधे को पुनर्स्थापित करने के लिए कादरी ने अपने स्तर पर बीड़ा उठाया और उसके लिए 5 कंदों को पहाड़ी जंगलों से लाकर यहाँ पर उगाया गया। उनके पूरे जीवन चक्र, फल, फूल, बीज इत्यादि का विस्तृत यहाँ पर रिसर्च हुआ और जिसके स्वरूप आज वानस्पतिक उद्यान में इसके 1000 से भी ज़्यादा पौधे हमने तैयार किए हैं। इनको वापस इनके आवास स्थानों में लगाने हेतु एक पारिस्थितिकी मॉडलिंग की गई, जिससे उन जंगल के स्थानों का चयन किया गया जहां पर इनको लगाने से इनकी बढ़वार अच्छी होगी।
सिरोपीजिया की प्रजातियों में विशेष आकृति वाले या यूं कहें कि मक्खियां पकड़ने वाले यंत्र के समान फूल होते हैं। इसकी पंखुड़ियों की बनावट रंग व आकार अन्य प्रजातियों से भिन्न प्रकार की होती है। इसमें परागण की प्रक्रिया तितलियों के द्वारा संपन्न होती है। सिरोपीजिया के विलुप्त होने के कारणों को तलाशा जाए तो पहला कारण यही है कि वनों के विनाश के कारण इसका निवास स्थान का नष्ट हो जाना, और दूसरा तापमान परिवर्तन के कारण इसके पौधों का मरते रहना। इसके अलावा बढ़ती औद्योगिक प्रदूषण के कारण भी इनके पौधों का जीवन खतरे में बना रहता है। यह भी देखने में आया है कि चरवाहा एवं पशुओं द्वारा इसके बल्बों को खाने के कारण भी इसकी संख्या कम हो रही है। इसके बल्ब में कवक या सुंडी के संक्रमण और पहाड़ों पर गर्मी के समय पानी की कमी भी इसकी वृद्धि दर को प्रभावित करती है। विदेशी खरपतवारों के अतिक्रमण से भी इनके निवास स्थान को हमेशा खतरा बना रहता है। अधिकतर इसकी फलियां पकने के पूर्व ही जड़कर गिर जाती है व इससे बीज निर्माण कम होता है तथा इसके बीजों का अंकुरण 15% से भी कम होने के कारण यह प्रजाति विलुप्त प्राय है। सिरोपीजिया के संरक्षण हेतु जालौर के पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों में इसके बीजों को फलियों के पकने के पूर्व ही इन्हें सुखाकर बीजों को अलग कर संग्रहित किया गया। इसके बाद बीजों की अंकुरण क्षमता जांचने के लिए सामान्य तापमान पर कमरे में, सामान्य तापमान पर खुले में, सामान्य तापमान पर अंधेरे में व कम तापमान अर्थात 5 डिग्री सेल्सियस पर किया गया। इस पर यह पता चला कि सामान्य तापमान पर कमरे में अंकुरण प्रतिशत सर्वाधिक रहा व सामान्य तापमान पर खुले में सबसे कम रहा। इसके अंकुरित बीजों को मिट्टी व गोबर खाद के मिश्रण वाली थैलियों में स्थानांतरित कर छायादार स्थान पर रखा गया। लगभग 5 माह बाद इसमें फलियां लगनी प्रारंभ हो जाती है तथा 2 माह में बीज पककर तैयार हो जाते हैं। फलियां पकने के बाद पौधा निर्जीव सा प्रतीत होता है, परंतु इसका बल भूमि के अंदर जीवित रहता है व अनुकूल वातावरण मिलने पर पुनः इसमें फूटान शुरू हो जाती है। अंकुरित बीजों को स्थानांतरित करते समय इस बात का ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि इसकी जड़ों को कोई नुकसान नहीं पहुंचे, वरना पौधे के मरने की संभावना बनी रहती है। इसके अलावा पौधों को मोर, गिलहरी, तोतों व बकरियों से बचाना आवश्यक है। इसके लिए लोहे की जाली में पौधों को संरक्षित कर सकते हैं।
माचिया बायोलॉजिकल पार्क का जो क्रिएशन किया गया है वो फ्लोरा और फौना ऑफ राजस्थान, इसके कंजर्वेशन के गोल को ध्यान में रखते हुए किया गया है। इसी कड़ी में यहाँ पर गूगल और वज्रदंती और सतावर, ये 3 प्रकार के आयुर्वेदिक मेडिसिनल वैल्यू के पौधे हैं। इनका कंजर्वेशन का काम हम कर रहे हैं। इसी कड़ी के अंदर काजरी के साथ टेक्निकल कोलैबोरेशन में हम सिरोपीजिया बल्बोसा का जो पौधा है, जिसको लोकल नाम है हेडोलो है, उसका भी कंजर्वेशन का कार्य शुरू किया गया है। और इसका हम जो यहाँ पर हमारे पौधे हैं उनके ऊपर इसको क्लाइंबर के तौर पे इसको लगाया गया है और पूरी हम उम्मीद जताते हैं और रखते हैं कि ये पौधा यहाँ पर अच्छी तरह से कंजर्व किया जाएगा, इसको पूरी सुरक्षा दिया जाएगा और काजरी के टेक्निकल मार्गदर्शन में हम ये काम अच्छी तरह से कर सकें।
माचिया बायोलॉजिकल पार्क में वहाँ के वन विभाग के अधिकारियों की सहायता से और सहयोग से उन स्थानों पर जो है हमने सिरोपीजिया बल्बोसा के पौधों को लगाया है और आज वहाँ ये सफलतापूर्वक वृद्धि कर रहे हैं। इनकी संख्या में भी बढ़वार हो रही है। इस प्रकार लुप्त प्राय होती जा रही इस प्रजाति को बचाने में एक महती भूमिका काजरी ने निभाई है।
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ravi Kiran, for this video, because video itself explains us many things.
Yeah.
And
which of the things I will left, they will explain from video also.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. And yes, we have few questions for this,
Yeah,
for your session.
okay,
Actually.
sure. Is it, I'm visible to you or not?
Yes. You are visible. Okay. So few questions are there,
Yeah,
and meanwhile you can type your questions in the chat box if you have any.
okay.
So very first question is this plant Ceropegia, apart from the edible purpose, used by for some other purpose by the local people?
Some medicinal purposes they are using.
Okay.
They are using
And
medicine
another
purpose.
question is from Rupali.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
still tell please.
Okay. Yes. There is one another question from Rupali,
Yeah.
that is the flowering time differ in the desert
Hmm.
conditions than the heavy rain areas of the Ceropegia?
Yes, because most of the desertic plants are very dependent for the moisture and the rainfall. And heavy rainfall is a area where you get a lot of rainfall, so definitely it get affected, and deviation in the flowering and fruiting season also from high rainfall again in desertic condition also.
Okay. So the flowering time might differ in both the
Yes, yes.
cases.
Not much, but only 10 to 15 days, I think, here and there.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
There is one question.
Yeah.
The person is probably from the Kota region, because he has asked any records of Ceropegia in Kota, Rajasthan.
Kota Rajasthan, we didn't find any record, but it might be there. If you search intensively in core region, you will be definitely found at least European bulbosa. Probably it is there.
Okay. And Bhakti, she has asked two questions actually.
Yeah, sure.
So her very first question is,
Mhm.
what type of soil and growth medium was used for the transplantation of the plant?
For transplantation, we did this. I already told that in my previous slides. We used two medias. One is sandy soil plus FOM, and another is gravelly soil plus FOM. To check either if this germination is get affected by the sowing media. So then, whatever we get the plants in sandy soil, we just put it along with that polythene, tear the polythene bag, and along with that sandy soil media in that rocky crevices of some area under the canopy of the different plant species in the nature.
Okay.
Those
One more question from her is, what is ecological importance of Ceropegia?
See, the ecological importance is that most that we don't know till now how many medicinal properties have been detected from this. So we should conserve this species and also to balance the ecological role of this species in nature also.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more question is from
Mhm.
Madhu.
Mhm.
That is, what is economical value? I mean, economical importance of the Ceropegia?
So I already told that medicinal importance, and again this species is a tubers are the thirst quencher species. Okay, the shepherds and all those people who are remaining on the wild nature, na, they are just taking these tubers and eating for their thirst. So one can grow for large scale multiplication and use these minerals and all those things to get fulfill our requirement of the minerals. One can grow and use these plants as a edible purpose also. And one
Uh,
more thing I would like to share, that the ecological balance is that I told you that that butterfly is that, no, uh, plain tiger butterfly that
okay.
lays the egg only on the members of the Asclepiaceae. That is the, it is a host specific. This is if you don't such kind of some Asclepiaceae member once get lost, so such kind of butterfly and other dependent animals or insects will get definitely affected.
Okay. Anyone has any other questions? I think majority of the things are already explained by Dr. Ravi Kiran.
Yeah,
But
I think
still,
if still
What is
they yes sir.
what is its nutritional value?
A nutritional value, madam, it is used as a some.
No, it's used as it's eaten, but I'm asking about the components, carbohydrates, starch, etc. What is? Have you tested that also?
No, man. I have not tested, but there is one thesis they have been published from Shivaji University, Kolhapur. I will send you that link also. You can refer it. If you still some more questions, you can mail to my send some emails to me. I will be just reply to you that. So those nutrition value we didn't test it, madam.
Okay. If you have any question, please type them in the chat box. Please don't ask them directly. Okay. Few other people have asked that, can you please share the link of the video to them? Is it possible for you?
Yes, sure, I will be, but it is a soft copies with me, so you might be recorded it or not, I don't know.
Okay, so what you can do, Ravi Kiran, you can share the link with us, and then we can share those who have already registered with us. Their email
Okay,
ID
sure.
is there with us.
Sure,
So
sure.
you can email us the link,
Okay.
and we will share with the registered people.
Yeah,
That
sure,
we
sure,
can
madam.
do.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you very much, Ravi Kiran, for this knowledge enhancing Serophagia work, and thank you, listeners also. Our next talk, the talk 8, will be on 18th of June at 4 o'clock, and there, Ravi Kiran explained us that how an endangered species is uh, conserved with the help of government support. And on 18th, we are going to talk about the conservation of the urban flora, and with the help of the resident in that area. So we will have two lectures on that particular day. So first, Miss Gauri Gurav will be talking about the urban biodiversity, and then we have Mr. Ruchir Bansal with us, who is his efforts to conserve the plants which are there in their vicinity. So he is going to talk about how they are doing this work with the help of their corporators. So please stay tuned with us for the 18th June lecture that will be on 4 o'clock. So thank you from Oiko Essence.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You want to add anything, Ravi Kiran?
No, thank you, madam. Thank you for the questions and all the audience for listening to me patiently. Thank you very much. And that link I will be very soon. I will be send to you that video also.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So here we are ending the meeting.
Yeah, sure.